She hugged her family that night just like she always did. It was not a special day. There was no big celebration, no argument, no sign that anything was wrong. It was just a normal family evening. They talked about small things. They shared simple moments, memories from childhood, little jokes, and stories that made everyone smile. Nancy smiled, listened carefully, and said goodnight the way a mother always does. No one knew that this simple goodbye would become a memory they would replay again and again. Most people know Savannah Guthrie as a confident woman on television. Every morning she appears calm, professional, and strong. She reports the news to millions of viewers. But behind that public image is a daughter who loves her mother deeply. She often shares stories of their family moments, funny incidents, loving gestures, and small celebrations that make anyone who hears them feel warmth and emotion. When the cameras turn off, she is not a television personality. She is simply a daughter, cherishing memories, holding on to love, and remembering the simple joys of family life. That night felt completely ordinary. No one was watching the clock. No one was thinking it might be the last dinner together. They believed there would always be another visit, another phone call, another hug. That is how life works. We trust tomorrow will come, and we believe we have more time. The stories and laughter shared that evening, the small gestures of love, made it feel safe and normal, unaware that the night held a silent, unspoken change. The next morning, things felt different. Nancy didn't answer her phone. Her messages went unread and calls went straight to silence. At first, the family tried to stay calm. Maybe her phone battery had died. Maybe she went out for a short walk. Maybe there was a simple reason. But with every call that went unanswered, the family held on tighter to their memories, remembering every moment and story with even more care. As the hours passed, worry slowly turned into fear. The silence became heavier. The normal routine of the family suddenly stopped. How does a loving mother just disappear without a word? How can an ordinary night filled with laughter, hugs, and stories turn into the beginning of a mystery? This is not just a story about someone going missing. It is a story about family, about love, and about the pain of not knowing. It is about the last hug, the last story, the last laugh that no one realized was the last. And the question that still remains is simple but haunting. What really happened after Nancy said goodnight that evening? In this video, we will share the precious moments she spent with her family, the laughter, the stories, and the small, everyday memories that made their bond so special. Savannah herself has shared these memories, giving us a glimpse into a family full of love, warmth, and moments that touch the heart. To the world, Savannah Guthrie is a successful television journalist. People see her confidence, her intelligence, and her calm voice every morning. She speaks about politics, world news, and serious events. Viewers see a strong woman who seems prepared for everything, but fame does not replace family. Away from the studio lights, Savannah's life has always been deeply connected to her home and her mother. Nancy was not part of the television world. She lived a quieter life. She believed in simple values, respect, kindness, faith, and staying close as a family. She was the kind of mother who remembered birthdays without reminders, who called just to check in, and who asked detailed questions about her children's day. Savannah has often spoken about how her mother supported her dreams from the very beginning. Long before the cameras, before the headlines, before the success, there was a mother encouraging her daughter to believe in herself. Nancy celebrated the small victories, a school achievement, a first job, a new opportunity. She was proud not because of fame, but because of effort. Even after Savannah became well-known, family time remained important. Holidays were not about public attention. They were about shared meals, laughter, and long conversations. Nancy liked to hear stories about work, but she cared more about how her daughter was feeling. She would ask, "Are you taking care of yourself?" In the way only a mother can. Behind every public success story, there is often a private support. For Savannah, that support was her family. Her mother was someone who kept life grounded. When the outside world became loud, Nancy's voice was steady and calm. Friends of the family described Nancy as warm and welcoming. She had a way of making people feel comfortable. She believed that home should always feel safe. That belief shaped the family. No matter how busy life became, there was always the idea that family comes first. But sometimes when one person lives in the spotlight and the other prefers a quiet life, there can be differences. Not conflict, not anger, just differences in lifestyle and pace. And those differences can create moments of distance, even in loving families. Still, love was always stronger. No one imagined that the strong family bond built over years would soon be tested in a way they never expected. And as we look deeper, we begin to understand that the relationship between a mother and daughter is often more complex than it seems. The relationship between a mother and daughter changes over time. When a daughter is young, she depends on her mother for everything: advice, comfort, protection. But as she grows, she becomes independent. She makes her own choices. She builds her own world. That change can be beautiful. It can also be emotional. Nancy grew up in a different generation. Her views were shaped by her experiences. She believed in stability, routine, and close family connection. Savannah's life, on the other hand, moved quickly. Her career demanded travel, long hours, and constant public attention. Sometimes those two worlds did not fully understand each other. A mother may worry when her daughter works too much. She may think she is not resting enough, not slowing down enough. A daughter may feel she has to keep pushing forward because her responsibilities are heavy. Neither side is wrong. They are simply seeing life from different places. There were likely moments of concern. A mother reminding her daughter to take a break. A daughter explaining that she cannot slow down right now. These are not dramatic disagreements. They are normal human conversations that happen in many families. But what makes a mother-daughter bond special is that even when there are differences, the connection remains. It is deeper than disagreement. It is built on years of shared memories, childhood mornings, school events, family traditions. Savannah once described her mother as someone who always wanted to protect her children, no matter how old they became. That protective love does not disappear with time. In fact, it often grows stronger. And sometimes, in busy lives, we assume there will always be time to say everything we need to say. We assume there will always be another visit, another conversation to clear misunderstandings, another chance to sit together without rushing. But life does not always follow our expectations. When someone suddenly disappears, every small conversation becomes important. Every word is remembered. Every moment is replayed in the mind. Did we say enough? Did we listen enough? Did we understand each other fully? These are the quiet questions that stay in the heart. The bond between a mother and daughter is never simple. It is emotional, complex, and deeply personal. And when that bond is suddenly interrupted, the silence feels even louder. And this is where the story begins to shift from normal family differences to something far more painful and uncertain. That evening felt calm and simple. The family sat together and talked about normal life. They spoke about plans for the coming week. They talked about work, home tasks, and small future events. It was the kind of evening that feels safe and familiar. Nancy looked relaxed. She paid attention to everyone. When someone spoke, she listened fully. She gave small advice in a kind way. She reminded them that family should always stay close, no matter how busy life becomes. Her words were soft but meaningful. There were quiet smiles during the conversation. The mood was warm. No one was in a hurry. No one felt stressed. Time moved slowly, in a peaceful way. Before the night ended, Nancy stood up to leave. She gave hugs that felt strong and full of care. She told them to stay safe and call her later. Her voice was steady. Her face showed no fear, no worry. Everything looked normal. No one noticed anything strange. No one felt that something unusual was coming. It was just another goodbye, just another evening ending. But sometimes life changes without warning. That simple family night, filled with calm words and gentle hugs, would later become something much bigger. It would become the last clear memory they had together. And no one knew that when she walked away that night, it would be the final time they saw her. The next day started like any other day. People woke up, phones were checked, plans for the day began. But soon, something felt different. Nancy did not answer her phone. At first, it did not seem serious. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she was resting. Maybe she had stepped outside for a short time. The family waited. They tried calling again. Still no answer. They sent messages. There was no reply. As more time passed, the quiet became uncomfortable. Nancy was not someone who ignored calls. She usually responded quickly. This silence was not normal. Family members began calling each other. Each one asked the same question. Have you heard from her? And each time, the answer was no. Worry started to grow. It was no longer a small delay. It felt wrong. They tried again and again to reach her. Yet the feeling in their hearts changed from confusion to fear. Something was not right. The memory of the night before became very important. They started thinking about every small detail, every word, every hug, every moment. As the hours passed, one clear thought came to everyone's mind. She was missing. The day that began quietly had turned into something heavy and frightening. Nothing else mattered anymore. Work did not matter. Plans did not matter. Only one thing mattered now: finding Nancy. And this was the moment when their lives truly began to change. As the days passed without answers, the family knew they could not stay silent. The situation was no longer private. They needed help. They needed the world to listen. With deep emotion, Savannah Guthrie spoke publicly. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed pain. This was not the confident television host people see every morning. This was a daughter asking for her mother. She asked anyone who might know something to come forward. She said that even the smallest detail could matter. She spoke directly to whoever might be involved and said it is never too late to do the right thing. Her words were simple but full of feeling. Other family members stood beside her. They did not speak loudly. They did not show anger. They showed hope. They said they only wanted Nancy back home safely. Nothing else mattered more than that. Savannah shared personal memories during the appeal. She spoke about her mother's kindness, her love for family, and the way she always put others first. She wanted people to see Nancy not as a headline, but as a real person, a mother, a grandmother, a friend. The message was clear. They were not asking for attention. They were asking for help. The appeal touched many hearts. People who had never met Nancy felt connected to the family's pain. Messages of support began to arrive. Strangers prayed. Communities shared the story. But even with public support, one question remained heavy in the air. Was someone listening? Behind the cameras and the public words, the waiting continued. Hope stayed alive, but uncertainty stayed strong. When the cameras turned off, the real struggle continued at home. The house felt different, quieter, heavier. Small things began to hurt. An empty seat at the table, a cup left untouched, a phone that didn't ring. Grief is not always loud. Sometimes it is silent, showing itself in long pauses and deep breaths. Savannah tried to stay strong in public, but in private, she felt the weight of missing her mother. Memories came suddenly, a smell, a song, a simple phrase that reminded her of Nancy. Family members comforted one another, yet each carried their own pain. Some stayed hopeful, others felt fear growing inside. Sleep became difficult, and nights felt longer than usual. They looked at old photos, replayed voice messages, and read past texts. Every small piece of memory became precious. There were quiet tears no one else saw. Long conversations unfolded about what they would say if Nancy came back. They promised to hold her tighter, to listen more carefully, to never take time for granted. The hardest part was not knowing. Grief mixed with hope. Fear mixed with love. Every day felt heavy, but they kept moving forward because giving up was not an option. Behind closed doors, away from headlines, a family was simply missing someone they loved deeply. Days passed and Nancy had still not returned. Every corner of the house reminded them of happy times. Every photo evoked her love and care. Savannah often sat quietly remembering small moments. Her mother's laugh, the way she held her hand, the stories that made them smile. These memories brought warmth and longing. Even in public, Savannah stayed confident. At home, she let herself feel the absence. Every hug and every word shared before now felt more precious. She understood the importance of family moments, even the simple ones often overlooked. The family held on to hope. They remembered Nancy's words, her lessons, and her love. They shared stories that made them laugh, promised to stay positive, and treasured every memory. Life continued around them, but Nancy remained in their hearts. And the question remained, will she come back? Will they laugh together again? Will they create more memories? Until then, they cherish what they have, hold on to hope, and believe that love is the strongest bond, a bond that endures no matter what. Sometimes, the most powerful stories are not about endings, but about family, love, and hope for a brighter tomorrow.